We are going to take a little bit of time and look closely at the things in nature around us. We're going to use our observation skills and notice some of the details about the plants and animals that surround us. When we see something new, whether it be a plant or an animal, we try and take in as many details about the new thing as we can, and use those details to identify it. Some things are familiar to us and thus pretty easy to identify. I would bet that all of you know what a pigeon looks like. We see them flying around us all of the time. They eat our crumbs and sit on our statuary. If you imagine what a pigeon looks like, can you think of the details? Is it big or small? Is it long or short? What color is it? Is the beak straight or curved? All of these details help us decide if it is a pigeon or a mourning dove, both birds that are familiar to us here in Washington, D.C. These two birds are similar because they are closely related, but there are differences because they are different species. Both pigeons and mourning doves belong to a group of animals called the Columbidae. All Columbidae are closely related, so they share features. Let's look at some other Columbidae and think about what features they share in common with what we know as the pigeon. Short bill, small head, short legs, round body. These are some of the common features of all Columbidae. Now let's take a look at some other types of birds and see how different they look while still being birds. So all of these have bills that are different lengths, different body shapes and sizes, long and short legs. Yet they are all birds. So birds share wings and feathers and bills and beaks. They have toes with claws and they all lay eggs. It is the difference between them that helps us to group and sort and thus understand birds. Today I'm going to help you understand one feature of organisms that may be familiar to you at first, but it is more complicated in some organisms. We're going to talk about symmetry. At a glance, this is probably familiar to you because all of us exhibit symmetry. You see it every time you look in a mirror. Symmetry is when something is the same on both sides. If you look at your face in a mirror or on the screen of a Zoom, you will see that you have two of all of your bits. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, You have the same number of teeth on the left side of your face as you have on the right. It's not a perfect copy. You might have a scar, or at the end of one lip curls up a little. Basically, though, if you were to draw a line down the center of your face, left and right sides match. So let's take a look to show that it's not a perfect match, but it is a match. So we're going to take a look at a picture of me. So in order to understand symmetry a little better, let's take a look at this picture of me. I actually just took this photo while I was preparing this video, and if we look, you can see that, like I said, two eyes, two nostrils, two ears, two sides of the headphone. If you start to look a little closely, right, one eyebrow is a little bit higher than the other. The corners of my mouth are on slightly different heights. The color of my beard is different left to right. There's these little details. And we, humans, are very good at seeing these little details and seeing things that are symmetrical. Alright? Let's take a look. If I put a line down the center of my face, again, you can see left and right are broadly the same. But if we, say, take one side of it and mirror it so that it's perfectly symmetrical, reflected on either side of that red line, I would look like this. You know, that still looks like me. Let's turn that center line off. It still looks like me, but maybe my cousin or brother. Right? The proportions are a little bit different, but that is perfectly mirrored left to right. Okay, here's the original again. And if we look, perfectly mirrored left to right. Okay, but if we mirror the other side of my face, I look like this. Right? Again, that could be my cousin. That's not me, but it absolutely shares features. Right? But this is perfectly symmetrical, and this is perfectly symmetrical. They are just reflecting the left and the right side of my face. Right? And so that's what I mean when I say that we are symmetrical, but maybe not perfectly. And a lot of that has to do with things that change as we grow up. Right? My genetics make it so that, left and right are going to match, but things that happen to me as I grow up might affect that. Right? And so I look like this. Broadly symmetrical, and this is called bilateral symmetry. Symmetry on the left and right. So let's look at bilateral symmetry again, but from the blank canvas, right? If we imagine that there is a line down the center of this piece of paper, and that is our line of symmetry. So if I say, let's see, let's put some shapes over on the side. Let's get a little color in there. Wider. Some color going. Whatever I draw on the left, right, we can grab all of that. Okay, we can copy it, we can paste it, we can reflect it, and then move it over and make a bigger shape. Right? So this is bilateral symmetry, left-right symmetry. Right? You can also have a type of bilateral symmetry as top and bottom. The point is just with bilateral symmetry that the two sides, left and right, top and bottom, match. All right? There are other types of symmetry, which we'll talk about later, but this is bilateral symmetry. All right? So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. Humans are really good at seeing bilateral symmetry to the point where if you look at the words bilateral symmetry, they look unbalanced to me, right? Um, that center line goes through the capital S, and that makes it look a little bit messy to me. Let's get rid of the capital S. So even with just the words, there's a pattern, right? The capital B, capital S, capital first letter of the word, but as an image, as a picture, it looks unbalanced, right? So another way to do this is like this, bilateral symmetry, right? Same words, I just changed the capitalization, so it's simply the letters on the outside, the first and last letter, that are capitalized. So to my eyes, this looks balanced, and this looks unbalanced. Now let's talk about radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is a little bit different. It's not left, right, or top, bottom. It's not two sides reflecting. It is multiple repetitions of a part, right? Instead of two, it could be three, it could be five, could be seven. We're going to take a look at a five-sided radial symmetry right now, all right? And so in order to kind of envision that, let's make a shape, right? So this is straight lines, whoops, but we are talking about biology, right? So we make it a little curved. And I want to place this, let's see, right there, okay? And so if I copy it and put another one, say, put one there, and I copy it and put another one, copy it, put another one, and then do one last one and put it there. Boom. So now we have made a flower, right? Or flower, yeah, flower. 5 petals, so 5-sided, all right? And it is radial symmetry, meaning each petal, you saw me just copy and paste and then rotate, is a mirror image of all of the other petals. So any two are matched, and you can match all of them, right? Another common shape that we see that has 5-sided symmetry, of course, is, let's see if we can get it to start in the same spot, okay, is the star. Now watch, I'm going to move this. The tip of the star should meet each petal in the same spot, right? And so that kind of shows us that they are all mirrors of each other, all right? Let's get rid of that for a second. So instead of having just a left-right symmetry, this has a symmetry that looks kind of like this. So each section is separate but matches each other, right? So 5-sided symmetry around a central point, okay? Let's turn these curves off for a second, these symmetry curves, because one thing that you often see with flowers, right, is you might see um, one layer that looks like that, and then there's another layer. And so it looks like, you know, here's 15 petals, right? But if we turn it off, It's just a repetition of the same pattern. It just makes it more complicated. All right. So radial symmetry is symmetry, multiple planes of symmetry around a central point. Okay. We often see that in flowers and other plants. The radial symmetry in plants can get very cool and very complicated. But first off, let's take a look at some animals that show radial symmetry, because they are still animals, but they are very different from us.